Welcome to Local Matters. I'm Elizabeth Shanahan-Jewett. Let's get started. Quincy College serves approximately 4,000 students as a municipally affiliated community college with campuses in both Quincy and right here in Plymouth. The 37 associate degree programs and 32 certificate programs offered by the school has greatly contributed to our local workforce. And now, a decade-long effort to expand its curriculum to offer a 4-year degree has culminated in state and accrediting agency approvals to offer a bachelor's degree in business management, the college's most popular program of study. They have begun enrollment for this baccalaureate degree and third-year courses in business management for the semester beginning in January. Congratulations to Quincy College and to future students for seeing this collective long-term effort come to fruition. To learn more and find out how you can enroll in this or other programs, visit quincycollege.edu. Join local musician Matt York for an evening of holiday songs and stories at the Kingston Public Library on December 16th. This all-ages show will be a festive hour of storytelling and performance. Matt will tell fun and funny stories about the history of some of your Christmas classic favorites, and then play them for you in a program that will run the musical gambit from centuries-old holiday tunes to more modern pieces. Visit the Kingston Public Library website to register. Jacqueline Millar is the Plymouth Food Access Project Director and the co-founder of Terra, Cura, Inc., a Massachusetts nonprofit bringing together innovative designers and environmental educators in the fields of architecture and permaculture. Julie Thompson spoke to Jackie about her work and passion.
Jackie, thanks so much for joining me today. For people who don't understand, what exactly is permaculture?
So permaculture has 3 tenets. It's land care, people care, fair share. And that really just means working with nature instead of working against nature. As a good permaculturalist, you should be able to have more hammock time, which means your ecosystem works within itself.
Okay, so put that again in words that people that don't even understand what that definition meant means.
So permaculture really means if you were going to have a little permaculture site at your own house, which I do, you want an organic garden, you want a compost system, and you want a rain barrel. Those are really the 3 things that are going to work within your system itself to be able to produce food on your property. You want to be a producer rather than a consumer if you can. And if you can't, then when you go to the supermarket or if you go to buy food, you want to buy it as locally as possible with the least packaging as possible. Your impact on the earth has to be very light. Okay. And that's what we try to promote with permaculture.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Now, clearly it depends on where you live and the type of, if you live in an apartment building, can you participate in this?
Sure. So you can participate in lots of different ways. You can certainly have a compost system in an apartment with vermiculture, which is meaning you have a worm bin that eats all your food scraps. You can have any type of container garden too. So you can produce some of your own food in your apartment as well. Or if you have a deck or a patio, any type of planter out there is going to give you the ability to produce something, either herbs, or maybe some vegetables, something like that. You just want to have your food source as close as you can to yourself.
Okay. And what about during the winter months where you can't really grow anything outside? Can you move most of this inside?
Some of it you can. So a lot of people are using grow lights for various things. They're using hydroponics as well. So you just have to think every day from the minute you get up to the time you go to bed, what's the best use of your time in order to help the environment and help the world.
And help yourself health-wise too, correct?
Of course, absolutely.
Right.
Local's the best way, right?
Right, absolutely. Now, what is your background and how did you get into this? Because this is very unique and interesting.
So I grew up in North Adams, which is the western part of the state. And growing up, I just thought this is the way everybody lives. I lived with my grandmother, my mom, and my dad. And my grandmother would say, can you go up to Blueberry Hill? We need some blueberries to make something. So of course we trudged off to Blueberry Hill with our little metal bucket. And that's what we did in our free time. We would go to places and gather things that were local. We had 2 apple trees in our backyard, and that kept me close to my food system as well. So we'd make pies from our apple trees. So for me, your food system was just something that happened to be in my backyard or up the hill. So as I kind of came into this permaculture world, that to me just made perfect sense. Working with nature is the only way we really are going to be able to move forward, in our day-to-day lives in order to save the planet.
And so you had the advantage of growing up in that environment with that,
Yes.
That's just part of how you lived.
Right.
What do you say to people who their entire life it's all prepackaged everything? How do you break that cycle that is really no one's fault, that's just how you were brought
Right.
up, to make them understand
Right.
how important and what an impact it can make if they change, even a little?
Right. So for me, the local food system is probably number one. So if you have a farmer's market, that's your goal, is to go to the farmer's market, because then the number of miles your food is traveling is so much less than in an industrial commercial food system. Also, when you're tasting things, if you get a tomato from Florida or from Canada or from wherever, that taste isn't the same as something local. So once you start to kind of attune your senses to eating local food, that's going to make all the difference in your day-to-day life. Just tasting, eating, and having things that are local is going to make a huge difference in what you're going to do every day and eating yummy food that tastes like something instead of cardboard.
Right, right. Now, how do we educate the youngest of the young, and do we do this in schools to try to get people to be on that path right from the beginning?
Right. So one of the goals of Terra Cura is to have a school garden at every school in Plymouth. So we do have a lovely school garden at all the schools. Some of them we installed, some of them were there. And then what we do is educate kids by having them come out to the garden, not to be afraid to taste, smell, and just grab the food and feel very comfortable knowing that's the local food system, right? If you have a garden outside of a school, that's as local as you can get. And then having some of that produce be brought into the food service. So Patrick Vancott is the food service director for the town of Plymouth Public Schools, and he's embraced this concept with the tomato sauce initiative. So we were able to gather tomatoes from the school gardens, bring in basil and oregano, and he makes a tomato sauce for the district, and that we serve once a year. And that gets kids thinking about from start to finish, from seed to harvesting and to eating it. And that's the key, because I think kids are really the change makers, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They're the ones who really want to embrace this type of work, and they're very worried about the environment.
Yeah, they are. And we're kind of asking them to be the ambassadors to bring that thought process home, maybe,
Right.
and maybe even help educate their parents on how they can make little differences.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, that's excellent. Now, can you suggest some good resources that people can go to I want to start this. I've never done this before, and I want to do this. Where do I start?
Sure. You can Google permaculture. It's going to tell you a whole body of work about it, but it's really doing things on your own property. So for me, a rain barrel is really important, capturing rainwater. That you can use for your garden or for other uses as well. And those rain barrels you can get, there's a company called the Great American Rain Barrel Company, and it's a food grade container that they repurpose into a rain barrel. So you can kind of advocate for your city or town to have a program, which is wonderful, or you can just order one. I think Morrison's Bagway is a wonderful resource. You can buy one there. So, and then a compost system too. Compost systems are great. And so all your food scraps or any type of leaves or things like that can go into your compost system. And I made mine with pallets that you see on the side of the road. So anything you see that you could reuse, grab it and bring it home and turn it into something else. So for me, an organic garden, a rain barrel, and a compost system are probably the three most important things you can do on your own property.
So let's just talk about that for 1 second. You know how all the cities and towns now, a lot, have trash pickup, they have recycling pickup. So
Yep.
we're all used
Yep.
to, okay, we're recycling now. Do you foresee a day where this process is part of something that our local municipalities support also? And how might that happen?
It's a good question. You have to advocate all the way, to get these things in place. There are different organizations that do curbside pickup for composting, and that you just put out your organic food scraps, and then you can either get compost back, they'll deliver it back to you. So there's different organizations that do that, which would be wonderful. So Black earth composting is one of them. I think there is some talk about having that come to Plymouth. So you just advocate for these things, and it's a groundswell of people who want to do the right thing.
Right.
But you have to, when you go to a store, you have to really be mindful of what you're buying and where it came from. You really need a pineapple in January. If you bought a pineapple in January, the amount of energy it's taken to get from Hawaii here, is that worth it?
Right.
It probably doesn't even taste that great by the time you eat it anyways. And even the packaging as well. We use K-cups, the K-cups, the single serving coffee. We use those to start seeds. And I think that's a wonderful visual for kids to understand that everything that comes into your, what you buy or what you use, you can reuse it.
Right.
So yogurt cups, K-cups, reuse them and start seeds from them. And that gives them kind of a different perspective, because we need to tread a little bit more lightly on the earth instead of just be consumers all the time and throw things away, because it's crushing the world.
Right. So this is all connected in the great circle of life. It's just a really important part of that hasn't gotten the attention probably that it deserves. This has been great. I could talk to you for hours. This is absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much, and we'll put all the information on the screen as to how people can get more information. And I appreciate your time today, and I'm energized. I'm excited.
Good.
This is good.
Great.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Jackie and Julie. Celebrate the season with music and the Plymouth Philharmonic Orchestra at Holiday Pops 2021 with dates on December 11th and 12th. Selections from Irving Berlin's Broadway musical White Christmas will be sung with the vocal gifts of soprano Kristen Watson and tenor Matthew Anderson. And the Plymouth Community Intermediate School's 6th grade chorus will join the orchestra and sing Somewhere in My Memory by John Williams from the film score to Home Alone, and We Need a Little Christmas from the Broadway musical Mame. The March of the Toys community toy collection will be cheered on by Santa himself, welcoming the spirit of seasonal giving. To limit congestion as much as possible, this year's Holiday Pops will not include an intermission and have a runtime of 90 minutes. Patrons may use the restrooms at any time during the performance. For showtimes and to get your tickets, visit plymouthphil.org. Mayflower Brewing Company at 12 Resnick Road in Plymouth will be the site for December 19th Hometown Holiday Marketplace. Hosted by Inebriart, you'll be able to enjoy shopping, a cold beverage, and yummy food at this 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. event, where you'll run into friends and neighbors, support local artists and vendors, and be able to check names off of your shopping list with unique items and gifts. Visit the Eventbrite page for more details. Next up, we have storyteller Caroline Chapin with an autobiographical story about the value of thrift.
I was raised in a family of 5 sisters. There were 5 girls growing up. I'm number 4. And we were raised by a very frugal mother. I think of her as the Bermuda Triangle of frugality. She was Depression-raised, Midwestern-born, married to my father, who made a very uncertain and uneven living. And bonus points, she hated to shop, and she was of Dutch heritage, and they're known to be very thrifty. So growing up with 5 daughters, hand-me-down clothes were a complete no-brainer. Everybody did it. And I never thought at all about the clothes I wore until I hit junior high school. Suddenly in 7th grade, I realized that the clothes I was wearing did not look like the clothes in my Bible. My Bible was 17 magazine. Like any 7th grade girl, that's your Bible. And I also realized that my friends were doing something called back-to-school shopping. In August, they'd go to stores with their mother and buy clothes. Back-to-school shopping in my household meant standing at the bottom of the attic stairs. I can see my mother clear as day. On a hot August afternoon, she'd say, "Let's go into the attic and see what fits." Of course, there would be something that fit. I had 3 older sisters, a younger sister who was gaining in height. There was 14 years difference from youngest to oldest daughter, so endless supply of clothes. But they really looked old-fashioned to me. It was 1968, I was in 7th grade, I was studying 17 magazine. I had to do something, so I learned to sew. And I took apart these clothes from the 50s that had come down to me from my sisters. And I created some of the most god-awful clothes, and I was so proud of them. There are a lot of ladies here my age, so you'll relate. Peter Pan collars of the 50s, Nehru collars of the 60s. The circle pins from my older sister Debbie, chain belt, 7th grade. The shirt waists of my sister Sarah became high waists, low waists, no waists, mini skirts. And the proudest day in 7th grade was when I got sent home from school with a note from the vice principal telling me that my dress was inappropriate wear for school. My proudest day. My mother was furious. Now, I have friends that are horrified at the thought of going to a thrift shop, wearing something from a consignment shop. Ooh, you don't know where it's been. But to me, you wash it again, you make it your own, and you make it your own story. About 10 years ago, sister number 3, Nina, and I, sister number 4, were visiting our mother, and we barely gotten in the front door of her apartment. And she was there. Guess what, she said. My neighbor just dropped off a bag of clothes that no longer fit her daughter-in-law. Let's go see what fits. And we did. We managed, as 2 middle-aged ladies, to get most of those clothes into the bag and into the car on their way to the thrift shop. But there was one dress that did fit, and it became a favorite of mine. And I'm wearing it right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. The Executive Office of Public Safety and Security encourages Massachusetts residents to plan ahead for the shutdown of 3G cellular networks. Mobile carriers are retiring 3G technology to add bandwidth for faster and more reliable network services, such as 5G. Recently, the FCC issued an alert to consumers detailing the timelines provided by mobile carriers to complete the shutdown. AT&T will retire 3G service in February 2022. T-Mobile Sprint will finalize 3G shutdown on March 31st, 2022, and Verizon will sunset 3G by the end of 2022. EOPSS urges residents and businesses who rely on older technology to plan for the potential loss of call and data functions, including the ability to contact 911. According to the FCC, the transition will also impact many other industries and technologies. A failure to upgrade technology in advance of the shutdown may affect security systems, monitored fire alarms, personal emergency alert devices, and vehicle SOS systems. So, what should you do? If your mobile phone is several years old, older than an iPhone 6 or Samsung Galaxy S4, you are urged to contact your local mobile carrier to determine if a new device or software upgrade is necessary. According to the FCC, there will be resources available to assist eligible consumers with phone upgrades and other internet connectivity costs. For more information on these resources and consumer guidance, visit the FCC website. The holiday season can be both joyful and stressful, but the painful loss of a loved one can make us feel conflicted about joining in gatherings and celebrations. Grief is unique and complicated for everyone, and the Duxbury Senior Center is offering a program on December 9th from 10 to 11 a.m. to help with the process. Coping with the Holidays While Grieving will be an interactive workshop led by Cranberry Hospice and Palliative Care Bereavement Coordinator Anna Siri, where you'll discuss potential challenges and learn strategies for coping. Visit the Duxbury Senior Center website to register. The Kingston Public Library invites you to the Adams Center to enjoy the musicianship of the Kareem Sanjahi Band, where they will perform holiday favorites with a bit more syncopation and improvisation. Kareem has been featured in Cape Cod Magazine and is known for his energetic drumming and impeccable time. This jubilant holiday concert takes place on Thursday, December 9th from 6 to 7 p.m. and is free to the public. Visit the Kingston Public Library website to register. And visit pactv.org/thelocalscene for more of what's good and good to know in our community. That's this episode of Local Matters. From all of us at PACTV, have a safe and happy week. We will see you next time. Thank you for watching. We are grateful for your attention. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe to the local scene here and share everywhere. Thank you, friends.